And with the industry changing, realtors feeling lost. Some of those realtors are new, don't know which way to go for guidance. Some realtors have been in the business for some time now and just looking to revamp their business because things are changing. So I want to talk a little bit about what I consider to be your essential marketing, right? Whether there's four of them, and then of course we're throwing a bonus at the end, which everybody always asks about. But as Vic always says, that one doesn't matter. But we'll kind of dive deep into that one, right? So I want to talk about these four core marketing aspects. There's your cold calling, there's your letter writing, there's your door knocking, and there's your circle of influence. And I want to start with the first one, which I believe is your strongest suit, Vic, right here as our manager, which is a circle of influence. Somebody who does start off in real estate, usually they want to talk to their family members, their friends, the community that they live in. How would they even approach without sounding too salesy? There's a lot of realtors who completely avoid their family members because they're like, oh, well, they know that I don't know anything yet, especially on the newer side, or even experienced realtors have already sold to their families before. I don't want to sound like I'm looking for another deal straight from them, right? So how would you approach that? How would you guide a realtor on that?
So I think that's kind of that thought process a little is the mistake. You're looking at your circle sphere of influence, and you're only looking at your family, right? And I think everyone can agree that your family knows you in a different light, and your family knows you differently than the persona that you put out to the general public, whether it be your friends, whether it be colleagues at work, people you play sports with, any things like that. So when you're looking at your sphere of influence, your circle of influence, I encourage everyone to look at the way I look at it, and it's anybody and everybody that if I have your contact information, if I have your name, your number, your email address, you are in my sphere of influence, right? Now it's up to me to influence you, to do whatever I want it to be, right? Whether it's to buy something or follow me or giveaways like we're literally just talking about, whatever that is, it's up to you to maximize that. And yes, it's a little scary and concerning when you don't have an action plan, you don't have a script, and you don't have a process, and you don't know what you're doing. And this is why we train specifically on how to maximize your influence in your sphere of influence.
So what does that look like? Because I always give the example whenever circle of influence, because realtors, as soon as they get into the business or whether they're looking to revamp their business, a lot of times we'll see them at events. And the scene from Scarface always comes to mind whenever he meets the guy for the first time for the Coke. And he's like, if you want to start doing business with me, do business with me. I don't care if you get to know me. And I do see a lot of these realtors spending time with all these investors or new clients at bars, drinking 4, 5, 6 times, and there's never a deal out of there. How do you balance that by building up your network and actually learning how to get a deal out of it, or put yourself in a position to get a deal?
We have a straightforward process on how to actually get your first deal. And I will say that everyone that's followed this has gotten a deal. Some of the realtors and have joined our company from other brokerages, and I make them do it as well. And they're always uncomfortable because they know that they've already made some type of announcement of being with the real estate company, and they don't want to look like they've hopped around to different companies. And the process that we have is we get them in, we go through our training, and around week 2, week 3 of our training, as soon as they're close to being done, we set them up for professional headshots at Orchid Grove Media. And once they take that photo, we get our new hiring post. Once we have that new hiring post, we have them post that online, right? And anybody that likes that photo, it doesn't matter who it is, we encourage you to send them a message. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time and support. Hey, thank you so much if you know anybody. And it goes the same in person, right? When you're letting people know, hey, I just got licensed. Hey, I'm a new realtor. Hey, thank you. There's no difference for me in my mind there. Whether I'm posting a picture and letting everyone know that I'm joining a new brokerage, or whether I'm telling you in person that I'm joining a new brokerage, I'm using that as an opportunity to have a real estate conversation. I'm not talking to them about, oh man, did you see the Astros won yesterday? By the way, I'm a realtor. I'm not baiting and switching them, right? I'm letting them know, oh man, I just joined this great real estate company. And if they engage that conversation, and I know that there's some interest in that, and I get to, okay, in my mind, okay, this is somebody that, one, either cares about me, two, that has some type of real estate interest, three, there's somebody I should follow back on a more personal level.
And I feel like whenever you start with your sphere of influence, you know, kind of like going through, hey, I just got my license, let me know if there's anything that I can help you. If there is somebody, that kind of reaches out from, that follow up with you and them, um it's like kind of easier for a new agent because they know that you don't know basically.
So there's a lot of excitement when you become a realtor, right? There's a lot of excitement because you're licensed. You're licensed. You almost immediately could do anything that has to do with real estate. You can do residential, you can do commercial, you can do investments, you can do anything you want in real estate. So what ends up happening, and right now I was kind of getting your point, what you were saying, right? um, Whenever an investor takes you under their wing, right, and says, "Hey, I'm going to train you, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you how to make this money," and a lot of times these investors, they already have the luxury car, they already have the big home, they've already had some sort of success in the real estate business, right? And so they take you under the wing, and you were saying, you have drinks with them several times several times before you get to any kind of business talk, and sometimes you don't even get to business talk. And so that's where you have to realize, and that's what we're here for, and that's I remind my agents every time, and even some of my seasoned agents, I remind them. They're like, "Oh yeah, man, I met this guy yesterday, and we had drinks, and he wants to buy an apartment complex, and yada 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 yada, right?" And then I see him again, with this guy drinking, playing golf, whatever, and like, "Hey, well, oh yeah, I miss with that investor again." Like, "Hey, bro, that's already 4 times you've hung out with that guy. That's 4 times that you spent a whole day with him or a whole night with him, and woke up hungover, and you ruined the whole day because you were hanging out with this guy. At what point are we going to get a deal out of this, right? If this is too much for you, bring me in. I'll come in and I'll help you out, and I'll let you know if that's a deal or not." And a lot of times, realtors don't want to hear that. They don't want you. They feel like you're like you're taking the deal away from them, or you're making them feel like they're not the most important person in the room whenever they're negotiating with their investors.
Yeah, and it's true, like what both of you guys said right now about even your more experienced agents. For example, like I think this is where I fall short plenty of times myself in this business. 7 years into it, right? And I'm like I said during the pandemic, which you guys probably heard me in other podcasts, I sold to everybody that I knew
Mm-hmm.
and their brothers, sisters, and cousins, second cousins, right? So I sold to everybody that I knew. Where I fall short is going back to that business and just staying top of mind with them. What I was doing is something we just had this conversation, right? And what I thought this was perfect because this fits even for people who've been in the business for a long time. Again, me, 7 years, right? I do my quarterly letters, and sometimes that's not even enough, especially if you're somebody who came into the business and was a buyer's agent for the longest time, and now you're doing your transition, your transition over into being a seller's agent. Like sometimes your buyers probably think that that's all you do, especially if you're somebody like me who was like, you know what, I'm gonna put myself in front of them, but I'm not gonna go after them hardcore. So I kind of want them to come to that decision by themselves. But there's so many realtors in this industry, and now something I'm starting to realize is you have to make a push for that ask. You have to make a push to remind them, hey, I'm still here. This is what I do. So besides your letter writing, which we'll go into next, how else could you remind your circle of influence that you are a realtor, that you do sell and buy, even if they did deal with you 5, 10 years ago?
Well, that goes back to the point that I was saying. When somebody enters your sphere, right? And the way I've always thought about it is that if I meet you, you're in my sphere of influence. And I say me, if we've exchanged some sort of contact information, you are somebody that I can comfortably reach out. Hey, we've had drinks, we've had conversations. I know you. Hey, you're that guy, you're that girl. There's a conversation we can have here. So having that confidence that anybody that exchanges contact information, I'm an asset to them, like they're an asset to me. And what I do with them is going to determine my value, right? So it's your network is your net worth, right? Is what they say, but you have to work it, right? So the way that we work that is dependent on the type of clientele that you're dealing with. You have to have a plan for everybody that's in your sphere if you're looking to make money. And somebody like you that you've already sold to, immediately where my mind switches to is your market update. Right? Now you're giving them market updates about their home value in their area because why? They start to get married. They start to have kids. Family starts to grow. Kids start to move out. Maybe they divorce their wife. Who knows the reason, up or down, downsizing, upgrading. There's reasons there why people want to move, and you need to stay top of mind. So, follow Lionsgate Realtors, follow our marketing plan.
What I
It tells
personally,
you.
I'm sorry, what I
Go ahead, Paul.
personally do is, I mean, we all drive a lot. So whenever I kind of sit on the car, I kind of have in mind, the person that I'm going to call. So I try to always, be calling them to check on them. Hey, how's the family doing? I heard that you're going to have a grandkid, you know, little things like that. I feel like it really make the difference and helps you create that personal, you know, touch relationship
Mhm.
with them. And the way I see it is that, I mean, I get invites to, like, you know, birthday parties, all of these events that, you know, they keep on having like every other weekend. And then I'm like, okay, you know, that tells you a lot.
That they're thinking about you. And
Definitely.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
so something that I dealt with, what I dealt with most recently, about 2 years ago, something that I had never dealt with, is you know, my son came into the real estate business, right? He got licensed and wanted to do real estate, and his circle or his sphere of influence, right? You know, he has none. You know, his father's a broker, his mother's a realtor, his cousin is a realtor, his, I mean, 4 cousins are realtors, his 2 uncles, 3 uncles are realtors, his aunt is, everybody in the family is in real estate. He has absolutely no circle or sphere of influence other than people his age, right? And he's 18. He turned, when he got his license when he was 18, right? So how did he network? How did he find people that wanted to buy homes, right? And he had to get very creative. He had to reach outside of his sphere, or of his influence, right? Or his I guess his social circle, because everybody in his social circle, you know, they don't want to do business with him. They want to know what his father has to say.
Mhm.
They want to know what, you know, his mother has to say, you know. And so what he did was he started networking in other industries, and started finding buyers, you know, and finding people that wanted to do different things, like you know, they wanted to do commercial, they wanted to find apartments, right? Because that's something I don't do. You know, he was entertaining people who wanted to build homes on their own lot. You know, he really went out there to try to get his business, and that is just, you know, that's somebody who understands, you know, what it takes to start building rapport in this business, and putting a name out there for yourself, you know.
So now that we talk a little bit on the reasonable side of what you can actually do and actually implement anybody, I have heard on both sides, right? And then of course you as a broker, manager, and as a realtor who's a woman yourself, I've heard on the both sides, male and female, talk about this, going on dating apps to set up dates and then pitch them about real estate. How is that even unorthodox, or is that even something that you would, if your realtor was to pitch that to you, what would you say? Because there are some realtors who have asked about that.
I would say no, and I've actually let somebody go for doing that. It's, you know, and I've said that a lot, right? You know, sex sells. It does. Being attractive, being pretty, being handsome, being whatever, it does sell. But when you're giving out those vibes and making it sound like a date, or making it sound like, you know, something else is going to come out of this deal if you close a deal with me, or if you, you know, pretty much if you sell, right? Um, it's very temporary, because that will get around. This industry is very small, and a lot of people think that real estate, that, you know, is a huge industry. It's not. Even when we had thousands of realtors, you know, during the pandemic, and you know, even 2 years ago, right? The industry was small. So now the industry is even smaller, and going to get even smaller by the end of this year. So your reputation is super important, and it only goes for, you know, so far before everybody knows that you don't know what you're doing, and all you're doing is selling sex.
Then it's hard for you to recover from that
Yes,
reputation that you built within the industry.
you'll never recover. I mean, I know realtors that never recovered, and they ended up having to, you know, leave the business and go do other things, you know.
Definitely, you know, me being this woman is a hard no. I mean, even, you know, without being in dating apps, if there's, you know, somebody that approaches me with that I see that might have, you know, a different intention, I'll drop you. I don't care if I lose 10K on you. I mean, no. I'm here, you know, as a professional to, you know, represent you, not as here to, you know, sell you something
Yeah,
else.
exactly.
So you know what's funny? We actually had a realtor here that used to be on dating apps all the time, and he used to, like, but he was looking for dates. He wasn't trying to. I don't know if guys can. I don't know if guys can use dating apps to sell homes. I'm not sure, but there was a guy that used to be on
That's actually a good
It
question.
was actually a guy who brought that up on another podcast,
Yeah.
and they were using the dating apps to set up meetings.
and he was
He got a
and,
few sales from it.
and he was literally
Very encouraging.
screenshotting. He was screenshotting realtors, and he would send it to us on a group thread, and he'd be like, "Hey, look at the realtor," and we'd be like, "What the heck?" And sometimes some of these realtors that were the same pictures that they had on Instagram was the same pictures they had on their dating apps.
So people can
Yeah.
follow them around.
And so check this out. This is the crazy part, right? Like I remember one time we went to a social event, and I remember there was a girl there, and this, you know, I don't want to say poor girl, right? Because she shouldn't be doing that, but everybody knew that she was on dating apps and that what she was doing, and everybody was kind of like laughing and kind of like, you know, talking about it behind her back. And it's like, you know, and she was clueless. She thinks she's being savvy. She thought she was being, you know, she had some kind of groundbreaking marketing plan, and it was, everybody was making fun of her, you know.
So, like I mentioned earlier, right? Like one of the things, the way that I keep in track of my circle of influence is letter writing, and I do my quarterly letters to them, reminding them about whatever it may be. Sometimes if it's going into the summertime and it's really really hot, you know, I'll send over some sunscreen, the little small ones. It just depends on whatever I come up with for that quarter, and that's the next one here. Letter writing. A lot of people they stand by it. Some people say that it doesn't work. I've experienced both. Whenever I actually zoned into it and I had an area that I was picking and I was writing to the right people, it did work for me. But whenever I was just writing to all of Baytown, introducing myself as a realtor, well, I mean, where's your CTA, right? So as a manager, Vic, how would you guide your realtors to writing the right letter for their community? Like,
Yeah.
well, like what's the first step to even figure out what you should write?
Well, the biggest thing is realizing that you don't want to make a blanket statement, right? A way I've always looked at letter writing is just just making a blanket statement. Hey, this is what we're doing. And if you're looking out into the crowd and you're just saying, hey you, hey you, hey you, no one's going to turn around. But if you're like, hey you with the red hat, and you know you have a red hat, you're going to turn around, you're going to look. And that's my goal when I'm writing these letters. I want to pick something in particular in that neighborhood that's going to draw attention, that they're going to feel like I'm talking to them or that I know them. And there's a lot of ways to figure that out. When you're marketing in your area and your zip code, I encourage my realtors to pick their areas that they live in. The reason why is because they know those areas more than likely better than any other area party. They know the local, you know, bars, they know the grocery stores, the parks, all the good stuff, right? As they figure that out, they're able to realize if some certain neighborhoods are newly built or they're older neighborhoods. And back to making a blanket statement, if I'm writing a statement that says, hey, if you're tired of your maintenance, you know, give me a call, but the house is a brand new neighborhood, you know, that letter is not going to resonate with them. They're going to be like, oh, this dude's just, and they're throwing that away. But if I send hey, if you're tired of your maintenance and ready for maintenance free living, you know, call me, and I'm attacking homes that were built in the 50s, 60s, you know, and those people resonate. It could just happen to be that day their AC went out, that they're dealing with problems as those houses always have.
And this goes back to also not just knowing, like, the way that you find out what to write goes back to you actually spending time in your area and your community and knowing your circle, knowing who you're prospecting to, knowing the clientele. If you want to get into that luxury market, yes, you have to go spend time there, know the area if you're going to let it right to it. Or, for example, for me, certain neighborhoods in Baytown, you got to drive through there in the evening. What's going on? You know, how do people feel about the community? Something that you told me plenty of times. You know, everybody doesn't think like you, because one of our biggest discussions or our back and forth that we used to have for letter writing was whenever I get a letter and I just throw it away.
Yeah.
But because I get all of my my Ralph Lauren discounts, whatever, it all goes to my text messages. But everybody, I'm not the one who I'm trying to get as a client. There's other older people who do read their mail.
But you see, it's not just older people that read mail, because you got to think about this, right? You know, I'm pre social media, pre emails, pre all that stuff, right? And I remember that I used to go to the mail, and if I didn't check my mail for 2 days, I had to stack this big of mail, all junk mail, and you had to go through every single one of them. And sometimes I would throw important documents away because I just wanted to get rid of my mail, you know? Well, now I go to my mailbox and I'll have 2 letters, maybe some kind of postcard, whatever. And sometimes I go to my mail and I don't have nothing. Okay. And the reason that is because everybody switched to emails, text messages, and social media. So now we're sorting through all our garbage on email. I miss so many emails because it's really tough for me to check all my emails. I miss text messages because for the same reason, social media, sometimes I miss some stuff, some of my realtors have to, send me memes and say, oh, did you see this person? Oh, no, I'm not. That person's not in my algorithm, right? But what really has boosted the love for mail again is Amazon, is shopping online, is doing all these things online. Now people look forward to going to their mailbox. People look forward to a package in the front of their house. So right now is the best time to get back to print media and sending letters and sending packages and sending gifts because people go home ready for something. They love it.
Yeah, because nowadays, probably, no one expects to, find, like Giovanni said, maybe, sunscreen, in the mail from somebody,
Little
I feel
Starbucks
like,
card,
yeah,
yeah.
I feel like that, if I get that in the mail, from my local real estate agent, you know, it makes me think about, he actually, took the time to put this, glue it, send it, something that it's so different compared to sending an email blast that is going to target 1,000 people
Mhm.
in 1 second.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that goes back to the letter writing on it in itself. It doesn't mean just a regular letter. You can go above and beyond. I mean, I don't know if you guys care to give any examples of either caught your attention to somebody made to you or a really good campaign that you've done in the past as an example, even though it's it's an older one. You have
Yeah,
anything in
you
mind?
just did a pretty good campaign that was internal, correct?
Yeah, well, actually, I got it from somebody that actually got me by surprise. I got a package and it was a small package. It looked like I thought it was jewelry. I thought it was like a ring or something in it because it was just a little small square, and so it had my name on it and it was delivered here to my company. And I was like, okay, so I opened it, and it said sitting duck. So I opened it and it said, is your company a sitting duck with is your company a sitting duck when it comes to cybersecurity? And it had a little rubber duck in there and his card and all his information, and it was all easy. I mean, literally, you could take a picture of the QR code and it went to his website, and you can get in contact with him. Had a picture of him. He introduced himself, told you what he did. It was super simple. So what I did was I reverse engineered it and I put it all into play, and essentially just the whole thing, pretty much every single box came down to like $3 a piece. To your postcard, the duck, and the box. I think the most expensive thing on there was $5 for the mail. The mail's kind
The
of
actual
actual
postage.
postage is kind of expensive. So the whole thing cost me like $7, $7 and some change to do that marketing. And what I did was I targeted old age units, or homes that have been in the market for a long time. And I said, hey, is your house a sitting duck? And it's really easy to find the houses that have been in the market for a long time, right? All you have to look is all the listings that either Redfin or Orchid or Keller Williams has. And so yeah,
Pull
so
them up by
so,
brokerage.
yeah, so I did those type of I did that type of marketing that I found, doing, that they found me. And I have found stuff. Right? I said, man, look at this marketing, dude, because there's very few things that catch my attention. And I have found some stuff that catch my attention, and I'll send it to my managers, and I'll say, hey, you should really look into this. But some marketing idea that I know somebody had a long time ago. I remember I thought it was crazy, right? And so when back in the days, I used to work in a car dealership, and sales had gotten kind of slow, and they had given us money to given us marketing dollars to do some mail outs, right? And I'll never forget that one time there was a sales guy. He was actually going into the database, finding people who had had their cars for more than 5 years, which back in the days, finance used to be only 5 years. Then it started going to 6, 7. I think you do 8 now, right? But he found all the people that had had their car for more than 5 years, and he mailed every single one of them a handwritten letter, and he put a dollar bill in
Wow.
every single letter, right? So everybody who got that letter opened and saw a dollar bill. Well, the next time he wrote a letter, what do you think those people did when they saw his name?
Got excited for a dollar bill.
Got excited for a dollar bill, got excited to see his name. And then all the ones that were returned to sender or no insufficient address, what happened to all those? They came right back to him, and he got his dollars and he recycled it. And
One of the pushbacks that I hear a lot for letter writing is, one, it's time consuming, and two, the postage for it is expensive. So how do you work, not necessarily work around it, but how do you actually make it count? And one of the things that I tell like my realtors whenever we are setting up something like that is, well, you have to know who you're writing to. You just can't blanket it. So how do you keep your costs down, and how do you actually make sure that it's effective?
Well, I want to talk about two things. One of the marketing tactics, just to kind of double up on Nate, and we're gonna give some free advice out here. We used to buy packaging that looked like it was from important people. I'm gonna name the names who the packaging was from, but we used to buy the packaging, and we used to put our agent resumes in there, and we used to put our stuff. We used to go personally drop it off at people's houses, so it would look like it was an important box. And we would do this on luxury properties or properties that were a little older. As our business model changed and as we got into other ventures, we started doing this with distressed properties. And the open rate on that was insane. We would always get calls. Sometimes they were upset. There was something else, but the fact that they would call and they were frustrated, and you reel them in. Back to our letter writing, and as far as tracking what we do, we have a 10K letter club, which is something that we implemented here, right? And the math was pretty simple for us. We wanted to not take any days off except for one day, and it ends up being 33 letters a day, 6 days a week, right? You give yourself a 2-week vacation, so times of 50 weeks, you end up at like 9,900 and like some letters, right? Do the math on the postage. You're spending $5,000 in postage. You're spending a couple $1,000s on letters and a couple $100s on the paper. And we have a marketing. It's $7,495.
That's if you're not getting fancy with it.
And that is just bare minimum to do the 33 letters a day. And anybody can do 33 letters a day. You can literally handwrite those damn letters, but we teach you how to not do that. But literally handwrite those letters, 33 letters a day, send them out, and we can guarantee, I can guarantee if you do that, 2 sales a year. So if you look at your price range, you just see if that marketing tactic makes sense for you or not. Now I can guarantee 2 sales. That's not meaning how many people get into your sphere of influence. It's how many people that you can sell next year. That's not saying that you're not going to get more leads. That's just what I'm willing to put in your pocket if you can do it. Because I know if you're writing those 33 letters, you're relatable. You're not making blanket statements. You dive deep into what you're doing, and you can be successful in that.
And that's something that I've even implemented myself. And it wasn't even necessarily the 33 letters a day, but I got super specific, and it's a letter that you helped me with, because I was actually searching for one of my clients. We couldn't find anything on the market, and I was writing directly to the people who would more than likely be willing to sell. And I mean, I was out with you. We were having tacos over there, and I got a phone call, and I was like, "Oh snap!" And it's like it feels awesome. Like, "Oh snap!" I actually got a phone call from my letter writing, and this is one of the things that I not refused to do, but I just hadn't implemented. And I'm starting to do it myself now, and I really want my realtors to do it as well, because it does work. You just gotta know what you're doing.
It definitely works. I got
so
really
give your
good
experience. Yeah,
I got a really good lead from letter writing, which ended up being like a property with over like 130 acres, or close to $2 million.
just so people know the potential for them. Let them know like what was the price range on that.
Close to $2 million.
Yeah, and that was from letter writing.
Yeah.
So
Just following Big's
Big's
strategy.
plan, at the beginning, and then even though we kind of stopped, we need to go back to it. But
and
Y'all the biggest haters I know. Y'all get calls, y'all get success, and they're like, that's fine. I didn't like
That's
that.
right.
It was too easy.
Now I need to do something else.
and so the thing is that we get into a habit of posting 2 or 3 posts a day, right, of the listing we have or of things that we do or what we offer, right? And what people don't understand is that's time consuming.
It is.
You're taking time out of your day to be posting, going through and the thing is this, it would be awesome if you were just posting, right? But you don't just post. You're post scrolling. 2 or 3, and then you scroll, and then you will see how many likes you have and see what your engagement is, and then see who texts you, who DMs you, right? And so it just, you go down that time consuming space, right? And the thing is that letter writing is time consuming, but you don't want to take the time to do that because it's not entertaining. It's work.
Yes.
It's work what you're doing.
Yeah, it's actually,
it doesn't
you
make you
know,
feel good in the moment.
Yes.
yeah,
it's not-
you
yeah.
actually, you know, section off the time of your day to
Yeah.
sit down, you know, write it, send it, all of that.
You sit there and you write a letter, and immediately there's nobody there either liking it or hating on it. You know.
I think personally, one of my biggest hits on letter writing is whenever I literally go to the clearance section of, you know, Walmart, whatever, and buy those like expire like Christmas cards and all of that that have, you know, little envelopes with different colors are super cheap. People actually, you know,
Mhm.
open those.
And you could get creative. I actually, I remember this one got me so many phone calls. Okay, and you know, I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, they all call me, hey, lining up to buy a home. I just got a lot of phone calls. Somebody even called me, said, oh my god, you got me. This is freaking crazy, you know. And what I did was, and you know, and it wasn't cheap. It costed money, you know. What I did was, I did wedding envelopes, and I don't know. I guess I don't think anybody does that anymore. I think everybody just kind of sends you like an Evite or whatever, right? But back in the days, you know, when you do a wedding, you know, it's that envelope that goes inside of an envelope that goes inside of a ribbon. You know, it's like crazy. These they used to be crazy. The wedding invitations, right? And I remember I did a wedding invitation of 200 people, right? And I strategically picked my market and I sent everybody that wedding invitation. I want to say I think everybody opened it up because
Yeah.
I got so many phone calls off of it, and it was just mostly people just kind of like giving me praises for like, oh my god, you got me. I've never opened a freaking letter. I thought somebody was even on the phone for me for like almost 30 minutes thinking, oh my god, I thought my daughter was getting married. I was like, oh, she better not, you know. I'm like, you know, it was interesting, you know, to see that. And that's, I mean, if you think about that, that's really not thinking that outside the box, you know. That's just me being creative. So that's another thing. Yes, do your letters, do your 33, do your all that stuff, do the basics, but also think outside the box. Think of things that you can do that's going to be different that nobody else does.
Something that's going to set you apart from the competition,
Definitely.
if they're even letter writing. But at
Yeah.
the bare minimum, get somebody who's going to remember you and be like, oh, that's the dude who sent me a wedding invitation to sell my house.
Mhm.
He's invited me to sell my house. But moving forward to moving forward into the next one, which is probably my favorite, is door knocking. I love door knocking. I've always had a good experience with door knocking simply because I grew up doing that. I grew up doing door knocking for preaching. So it's something that I'm used to. I've done it forever, and I've never really had a bad experience door knocking. I don't know
I
what it is.
have. Whenever you took us door knocking at
What is
noon
it?
and I was
And
dying.
it's weird because I always feel like Floyd has really good experiences with everything else besides door knocking, and I'm the other way around. So
I was
if people-
literally dying. Like I was red, blue, all these colors.
well, that was actually my fault because I took y'all out door knocking in August at 1 PM.
Took you door knocking on the hardest part of the year.
Ours part
That was
of-
wild, bro.
Yes,
That's
and then it
that's
was like
crazy.
in July or
That's terrible.
August. I mean,
I had to make sure they wanted it. I had to make sure that
He
they
said,
wanted
"How
it."
bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? And what did I do? I dropped them off in the corner and I was just driving over there. Y'all done?
that was the worst part. That he was actually
No,
driving around,
Brianna-
and Santiago
Brianna did
and
that.
I were like walking.
I joined y'all.
I will say I got so mad at Giovanni's outfit one time when he was door knocking.
Oh my
Oh
god!
my
He looked, hey,
Wearing-
he looked like a Carmax salesman. Dude.
He looked like when the whole world was Justin Bieber fans and never wearing funny clothes.
Okay. So
cargo shorts.
So I did have cargo shorts on. I had a company.
So I won't admit,
But you know what? I thought that was like proper attire for
No,
door
it's not.
knocking, especially in Texas in August at
It's
1
not.
in the
No.
afternoon.
It's not.
So
Button shirt.
let's
and I
go
was
into
wearing
that.
like the most Mexican hat.
Oh yeah, Floyd was she was over there.
I mean, I'm proud of my room.
Lord looked like she was in the Kentucky Derby.
Exactly. So let's jump into that, right? A lot of the reasons why people don't want to do door knocking. Number one is they don't know what to say whenever they hit the doors. At least whenever I go door knocking, the reason why I say I like it a lot is because I'm going out there with a purpose. It's usually door knocking whenever I have a new listing and I'm inviting them to the open house, inviting them to come do a private open house with me, just for the community. So I usually get a good reception. Every now and again, of course, you get somebody, hey, no soliciting. I'm not soliciting. I'm not selling you anything. I'm inviting you. That's my way in with everybody,
Mhm.
right? And but like, what do you wear? Right? What do you
look
say at a door?
professional.
Yeah. So I mean, in August, what would you recommend to wear?
So yeah.
three-piece suit with a tie, baby.
I've
Let's
done
go.
that
Yes,
before, and I
definitely.
sweated through it, bro.
Definitely. Yeah, go ahead. So I think honestly, when it comes to door knocking, first of all, you know, it's just like anything else, right? You don't just wake up or you just get up and say, hey, we're gonna door knock today. Oh, we're gonna letter write today. Oh, we're gonna cold call today. That's not how this business goes. Everything goes together. Everything goes. There's a process. How you say there's a method
Everything
to
has to be
Method to your
strategic.
madness.
there's a
It has to
method.
be a purpose.
Yeah, there's a method to my madness. Everything goes in hand in hand, right? And the thing is you don't go door knocking when it's freaking hot outside, okay, and you're sweating profusely or you're frustrated, okay. You go door knocking when it's either a cool evening, it's not raining, it's not we're not in a heat dome, okay, and you know you do it in the evenings. Why do you do it in the evenings? You do it in the evenings because they're home. They're home in the evenings, okay? And when you knock on the door or you go down there to meet with them, they've already gotten letters from you. They've already seen your signs, your bandit signs all over the neighborhood. They've already seen a listing that you have in the area. They've seen your sign. You know, you're not just a total stranger that just went up there to knock on the door. They've already seen some sort of marketing from you, okay? And then what is the purpose of door knocking? I mean, you're not going there to sell them a house, right? And you're not going there to make them sell their house, right? What are you going there to do? You're going there to introduce yourself. You're going in there to let them know who you are. Put a face to the name, put a person and a personality to the pictures and the media that they have been seeing. That's what you're doing. You're not doing anything else. You're not trying to hard close them. You're not trying to do any of that. And that's where everybody kind of gets confused. So how should you go dress? Well, what are you? You're a realtor. You're selling their home. You're a realtor professional if you're working for Lionsgate Realty, right? So you should be dressed like a realtor professional. And if that means you're wearing a suit, if that means you're wearing, you know, slacks with a button-up shirt and shoes that, you know, wearing some nice shoes,
That are leather.
your hair needs to be combed, William, and you know you're not out there, you know, dressed like with urban wear. Okay, that's just not the way it goes.
Okay, but what if you're like doing it in Baytown though?
It doesn't matter. That's you pretty much telling them, hey, I respect everybody else. When I'm in the Woodlands, I dress like this, but because I'm in Baytown, I'm gonna dress like this. That's what you're saying.
You're letting them think that you think less of them.
Yes. And
You said that. I didn't say that.
and-
I
You
mean-
said that.
and honestly, if I'm going, if I am a blue collar worker, right, and I'm in a neighborhood, right, a blue collar neighborhood, and somebody that looks like me comes to my home and knocks on my door and tries to tell me, you know,
What to do.
I'm closing the door. I'm slamming the door on you. I'm like, come on, this guy's over here in freaking cargo shorts. Those blue collar people don't even wear cargo shorts, man.
But I had a branded shirt
Wear your branded shirt under your blazer.
under my blazer while I'm over there dripping sweat. So those are the pointers for the door knocking. Like I said, the reason why I really enjoy door knocking is I always have good conversations. I feel like it's way easier for somebody to turn me down over the phone or whatever. In person,
I mean,
I've always had great conversations to whatever I'm doing.
for
door
for,
knocking.
for door knocking for us, you know, you said it, which is door knocking with a purpose. And at this point, to just talk, build on what Nate was saying, they've already received our letters. More than likely, they've already seen our marketing at some aspect, bandit signs somewhere in your mailbox. You know, maybe we posted online, whatever it is. If you do your job as far as the other things that we say, as far as getting involved with the community apps or even some of the networking events or something like that, and community events have going on, time you're door knocking, there's two different approaches that I take, right? If I do not have an open house, the approach that I take is I don't want anyone coming to my house without a gift. So I don't like going to people's house without a gift. So I put together a goodie bag and I encourage all my realtors. It's a little clear plastic bag. some candy in there. Since Giovanni wants to go at 1 o'clock in August, it's hard candy, no chocolates. Since Nate goes in the evening, he can give you, a Kit Kat or Reese's or something fun, But be mindful of
Texas,
that.
it might not work in Texas. Yeah.
Put those together, and you like to show up, just your business card. Hey, I'm a realtor in the area. Just wanted to introduce myself. If you guys ever need anything, I'm here. I don't care what it is. I'm a call away. And I always say, when you say that, you better mean it, because I've gotten some crazy calls to help people do some crazy things in their house, as far as moving furniture or helping them move things. And I've done it just mainly because I feel that I'm a good person. So I'm like, I'll help you out, bro. I'll go do it. The older I've gotten, I'm not as helpful as I used to be. So you want to consider those. That's one. And then the second one that I encourage all my realtors is to make it fun, right? So what I do, I have something called, for your listing, and obviously I'm assuming you do the same thing, is the Pick Your Neighbor program. And I go introduce, and I say, hey, I say, man, did you know, and if it's my buyer or my seller, hopefully, I'll have some relation. I say, hey, did you know that they're moving? I'm gonna, if you're tired of them, you can pick your next neighbor. And they always laugh. Say, no, man, bro, the other neighbor was saying that they were terrible. Sometimes they'll tell me bad things about the seller. We laugh, and I break the ice a little bit. They get comfortable with me. We exchange that contact. But once again, I'm building the sphere of influence. I'm exchanging contact information. They're getting to know me and who I am. I'm getting to know them, and I'm building that rapport in person. And then when I do my follow-up calls, I try to remember those things that they brought up in our conversation. So always taking notes and always learning, always being serious and being mindful of what's going on. At the end of the day, I'm at work and I want to be really good at my job. So if you tell me you're an Aggies fan like Nate likes to be, or if you're telling me you're an LSU fan like Jaden over there, then you get to write that down, and then hey, I can give them a little gift, and give them a little magnet, I could give them something, and I take those opportunities to really, make it memorable, make it fun, really think about it, and if you take your job serious, all this should be easy. It should be fun because you're trying to help.
If you're door knocking, knock on the door and tell them, hey, look, pick the one neighbor on the street that you don't like, and then say,
that's actually really good.
Say, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sell you a house and move you out of this trash neighborhood, or I'm gonna go over there and make him move. Which one do you want me to do?
Decide right now.
Just don't do it in your neighborhood because it's gonna kick you out.
we got a few minutes left here, and I want to touch on the one that's everybody's Achilles heel, except for very few, and that is cold calling. Why cold calling, and how would you implement cold calling? This is one that I've probably done only 3 times since I've been here in 7 years, and the few times that I've done it, I was terrified of the phone. The first time, the second 2 times in a group atmosphere, it was great. The first time that I tried it, I was literally at my house as soon as I got my license, because I thought I knew everything. I was watching YouTube videos for like 2 months prior to getting my license. I was like, you know what, I got this. I remember even calling Vic, saying, hey, just send me the list. He was like, come do it with me. I was like, nah, bro, just send me the list. I'll do it. As soon as I looked at the list and I was going to hit the dial, I was like, you know what? Let me go into my closet. I'm over there in my closet calling on the phone.
But he's already crying in the bed.
Exactly, right? And then the other 2 times, it wasn't a group atmosphere. And it's something that I want to implement again, right? I'm revisiting a lot of this stuff because the market is starting to change. And I want to, there's a lot of stuff that I want to explore again. So why cold calling and how?
You know why I've never understood why people have a problem with cold calling. Okay. And I've always tried to, I've never tried to relate to people or try to see it their way. Right. Because, I'm not that compassionate when it comes to sales. Right. I always feel like everybody should be I feel like everybody should be as strong as me when it comes to closing. Right. But the reason I don't have a problem with with the cold calling, is because I used to be really good at prank calling when I was a kid. I used to get on the phone and prank call, and actually that's one of the things me and my wife were talking about this, right? Because my wife had very strict parents, right? Ironically, and so she was not allowed to leave the home. She could only be at her sister's house where she would see me. So I would get there, and we were literally sitting in the couch in the living room with her grandmother, right? And she couldn't leave, so we were there bored watching TV, and I would get on the phone and I would prank call for her, and she would just die laughing, right? And so when I started getting into sales, my very first job was literally they gave you a, stack of paper with a bunch of phone numbers, and I had to go through every number calling these people. And I was the same way. I was like, what do I tell these people? I don't know what to tell them. I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing here. What am I selling, right? And they would give you this another thick paper of what you're supposed to say, right? And so, of course, like always, I would get off script and I would just go into prank calls and prank calls. And I was like, I don't care about this job. And I just started, I'd call them and be funny and be a clown. And they were relating to that. And so then when they were related to that, I would, finally at the end, I'd be like, hey, I said, so let me ask you this. I said, do you want to buy a funeral plot? I was selling funeral plots, right? And I was selling funeral plots to old people.
You were joking about it.
And old people love to talk. So I would have them on the phone for a long time. And all I had to do was set an appointment and I would get paid. So I was setting up appointments like crazy. And so I think that experience was what made me think that everybody likes to be on the phone. Everybody likes to talk. So I didn't have a problem with talking to people on the phone. I love talking to people. I didn't like to talk to people in person because they could see my face, And sometimes I would see their face and it would either make me laugh or it would make me, it would make me cringe, right? So so I think really the best way to get into cold calling is to start calling people without the purpose of selling and just talk to the person. And like I always say, when people are starting to cold call, I say, what is your purpose of cold calling? Have you ever sold a house on the phone? No. Have you ever sold anything on the phone? No, nobody can sell anything on the phone. What is the purpose of calling on the phone? It's to introduce yourself. You talk to 100 people, right? In one day, what are you supposed to tell them? Your name, your company name, and what you do. 100 people know your name, your company, and what you do in one day. So what are the odds of them ever calling you back? Or you following up with them later and they know who you are and they're ready?
They go up.
Yep.
It's making those contacts every day. And I think that it does go back to, like we were talking about, this perfect example when they says the prank calling, because they're not expecting that, or they weren't expecting somebody to call them and joke around with them and then try to sell them something. And me and Vic were just having this conversation because we're planning again to do the cold calling, right? And we're talking about pattern interrupts. And of course, you do have a script, but you don't want to sound like everybody else. And it goes back to the purpose of why you're calling and the purpose of what's the end purpose or the end goal of that call. And it goes back to what Nate just said, is you're not going to close anybody on the phone.
Vic used to close people on the phone. Vic has an interesting cold calling career.
So what is the purpose of the call though, Giovanni?
So the purpose of what I'm going to set into motion here is either to introduce myself or set an appointment to figure out their needs.
Yeah. No, and for me, so I grew up, with around Nate, right? And I say that all the time because I don't think you can even understand that. My mom used to drop me off, for holiday breaks with Nate. They used to drop me off and Nate would still be at work. So, I'd always wonder, what does Nate do at work so late, And they would all sit around. They would all sit around the conference room and they would all take turns prank calling or calling their leads to make their quotas for the end of the year. So I grew up in a fun environment with cold calling. I would see all the sales guys. I would see them make fun of each other. And they did it a little different because back then, I'm not going to say that there wasn't phones all over the dealership, but there was only one phone in the conference room. So they would take turns calling. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's a little more pressure. You're in there with your colleagues. Iron sharpens iron. Everyone's a little concerned. You want to put your best foot forward. You want to close. Nate just got off the phone. Boom, now I got a call and everyone's listening to you and they're laughing. If you say something wrong, everyone's laughing. So I grew up in that environment, right? Not that Nate was a frat boy, but it was a very fratish environment. And everyone was giving each other, stuff and that's how it was. So for me, cold calling didn't come that easy for me. I was really good in person. I was really good selling. And I when I started cold calling, it didn't feel, I could talk to people on the phone once it came in, but when the outbound marketing and I started calling people, it didn't flow like I wanted it to. So I went to go get a job to cold call, specifically searched a job to go get this cold calling job. And surprisingly, they paid a lot of money. They were paying me like $12, $15 an hour at this time. And minimum wage was like $7. It had just increased because I was at 545 for a little bit. It increased to $7. And I was this was paying 12, $15. And they said, hey, I'll pay you your full 8 hours if you can close the client on the phone. I was like, all right, cool. So I was doing political surveys, getting people's signatures online to let them do like city changes. Poor San Bernardino, California. I'm sorry to you guys. I approved the landfill in that area and signatures that we sent out. And
this is a voter fraud Trump is talking about.
So we're cold calling. We were getting your address. I was sitting out the notarized documents. They were signing them, sending them back. So it was and I did my job, and I was really, really good at my job. So for me, cold calling, not only did I get a fun experience watching Nate doing that when I was really young, I also realized that I wasn't that good, and I had like I had a goal in mind from the beginning of where I wanted to get to, how comfortable I wanted to be on the phone, and then you realize with anything, like you realize with anything in marketing, if you strategize, if you plan, and you have that end goal in mind, you can hit them as long as you know you're not going to close somebody on the phone.
Yep.
If that's your goal, you give up today because it's not going to happen.
And there's nothing at this company that we ask our realtors to do that we haven't done already. And when I say we've done, I mean successfully done. We have cold called, we have done letter writing, we've done flyers. I mean, you don't even know what that is. I used to literally deliver flyers door to door at apartments. We've done everything. Email blast, text blast. We've done everything. We know what works. And then also, because we've been in this business for so long, things come back and work again. And that's what we focus on. And so when we're telling you to do things, we're not sitting here saying, hey, do it because, we want you to be just doing something all the time. We want to make sure you're working, and we don't want to work. We're telling you because we know it's going to make you successful.
We're looking at cycles, we're identifying trends, and we're executing on what works at that time.
What do you do whenever, you come across agents that don't want to, work on, the trends or whatever you're telling them what to do?
I think this goes to Giovanni's bonus round, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're actually out of time right now. So
we can't get the bonus round, bro.
We can't. I mean, we can jump into the bonus round.
Go for it.
What do we do?
Real quick.
You want me to answer Floyd's question or throw in my bonus?
Do Floyd's question real quick and then.
Okay. Well, if they let you be hard headed, then you do what you want to do until you fail, and then you do the game plan. like I've learned to do. They let you fail, and
that's what you let him answer.
Is that what you wanted me to do the bonus?
After Giovanni spends like $7,000-$8,000 on something else that didn't work, and then he comes back. Yeah.
Boy. Hey, I would have spent more if my boy Ricky was charging. If my boy Ricky
said, I would have gave it to him too.
I would have gave it to him. Said, man, Ricky said, just go ahead and mail me that check, bro.
But yeah, the bonus one was about social media, but I think we've touched on that one, and we do need to get out of here. Yeah. Cool. So, but yeah, the reason why I wanted to have this podcast today is because I do feel there's a lot of people a lot of realtors reinventing themselves, and other realtors who really do want to stick around in this business are doubling down on their marketing efforts and trying to become a more professional and a better realtor. And I feel like these 4 points here are really your core. And you can build from here. This is your foundation. You can find what you're good at, stick to it, and then you can add on top of that and add other aspects to it. But of course, it's sort of like your 4 pillars that's going to build your foundation. And I'm Giovanni Frank, your gracious host with HBR. This is a podcast here in Houston where you can find all of your real estate information, powered by Lionsgate Realty, your Houston brokerage. And we can go ahead and let Nate exit out, and then y'all can go down.
And I'm Nate Balderas. I'm the broker for Lionsgate Realty. You can find me on all my social media outlets at Better Call Nate. And if you have any questions about the NAR settlement, I guess a lot of these brokers are really not getting behind this and explaining to their realtors. I mean, they're literally letting other people come in and do these NAR workshops, right? If you want real answers and real results, then call me. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna stop gatekeeping just for my realtors, and I'm gonna start helping all the realtors. I'm gonna start pulling a Ricky Caruth, bro. All right.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. My name is Victorino Cortez. You can find me at Real Torino TX, and look forward to hearing from you guys. We are growing our brokerage, expanding our brokerage, and you're looking for somewhere to land, and you're ready to work. We're your guys.
Flor Velasquez with Lionsgate Realtor. You can find me on my social media as Flor Velasquez Realtor.
Till next time, guys.